Welcome to the pharmaphorum podcast. This is web editor Nicole Raleigh, and today I have with me Dr. Brendan Frey, founder and chief innovation officer of Deep Genomics, an AI-first TechBio organization working on a genome biology foundation AI platform. Welcome, Brendan.
Thanks, Nicole. I'm looking forward to this.
So our conversation today comes at an exciting time for Deep Genomics. Last year's Nobel Prizes in physics, chemistry, and medicine or physiology were directly linked to the work the company is doing. Indeed, Brendan himself worked in the lab of Nobel laureate Geoffrey Hinton in the 1990s when they co-invented one of the first deep learning systems. And it was that research that eventually led to the creation of Deep Genomics. Overall, the pharmaceutical industry is moving away from an approach where AI is task-driven, narrowly focused on a single, isolated problem. Instead, companies are embracing foundation models which, trained on very large and broad datasets, are versatile and capable of tackling a range of complex challenges simultaneously. They even exhibit properties of emergent intelligence, wherein the foundation model can solve problems that it was not designed to solve, often without being given any additional information or data. But before we sink our teeth into the topic at hand, Brendan, perhaps you could introduce yourself to listeners and share a little bit more about what drove you along the path to founding Deep Genomics.
Well, first of all, Nicole, thank you for that wonderful introduction. It provides great context. So I was an AI researcher in the late 1990s, and I was one of the group of people who came up with this new field of deep learning as part of Geoffrey Hinton's lab. And in 2002, I was focused primarily on computer vision, as well as speech processing and text analysis, which is what a lot of these deep learning researchers have focused on. But at that time, my wife was pregnant, and we saw a genetic counselor who gave us some news, which was pretty upsetting. And the bottom line was there was a mutation, which could be a problem or maybe would not be a problem. But this was very difficult for us to make sense of. And so this was personally very difficult, and I came to realize that other people were facing these kinds of problems of a genetic mutation that they didn't know how to make sense of, whether it was their own or loved ones. And so I decided to focus the power really of deep learning on understanding the genetic determinants of disease and how we could treat those genetic determinants. And so that's what I switched my focus to. And then for the next 15 years or so, my group and I did a whole bunch of academic work where we published some of the foundational techniques for machine learning in identifying the genetic determinants of disease and developing genetic medicines. And then we spun out Deep Genomics in 2015. And Deep Genomics itself is an AI-first TechBio organization developing an AI foundation model platform to pioneer a new path in early-stage drug discovery. And we'll talk about this more later, but we created the first AI foundation model for decoding RNA biology and designing RNA therapeutics. And later on, we can talk about why RNA is so important. But through our technology and our novel teamwork, I want to emphasize the team and scientific method, and also a new partnership model, we're demonstrating what I see as really boundless potential in AI for drug discovery.
Thank you, Brendan, and thank you for sharing your very personal path to what Deep Genomics is specializing in and pioneering in now, which is RNA. So RNA as a therapeutic modality has arrived on a global scale with new medicines approved for rare disease and as vaccines. But this is only the beginning. RNA therapies can be programmed to precisely target genetic causes of disease, as we have been and will be discussing, but also mining RNA biology data. It's vast, it's complex, it's an overwhelming undertaking, and standard approaches are too slow and too costly. Nonetheless, AI can help. So, Brendan, tell us more, firstly, about the RNA field as a whole and just how unwieldy that biological data set is.
Sure. So first off, yes, RNA has completely changed the game for drug discovery. But I think that's happened for three reasons. First, RNA is the ideal point of disease intervention. And second, RNA is digital, which makes it a perfect match to artificial intelligence and machine learning. And the third reason is that there's more data in RNA biology than in any other field. And that includes protein and DNA and other kinds of biology. So later, I'll tell you about the world's first foundation model of RNA biology, which we created here at Deep Genomics. We could think of it as ChatGPT for RNA biology. But before we do that, I wanted to delve into these three key reasons that RNA is going to change everything. So the first is that RNA is an ideal point of intervention. You can think of RNA as the software of biology. So DNA is the input, proteins are the output. But the thing that brings DNA to life, that reads the code and determines those proteins in a cell-specific and disease-specific way, is RNA. So RNA really is the key actor. Now, as a therapeutic area, it has advantages. So unlike DNA editing or gene therapy, which permanently changes the DNA, RNA therapeutics modulate that software. They change the software, which means that there aren't any permanent changes to the DNA itself. And this enables RNA therapeutics to be tunable, reversible, a lot of advantages that are important. The second thing I mentioned is that RNA is digital and a perfect match to AI. So you mentioned that RNA biology is unwieldy, large, and complex, and that's true. But of course, these days, AI loves large and complex data sets, large and complex problems. So this is a wonderful opportunity. RNA is digital. In contrast to proteins and antibodies, for example, RNA is a sequence of letters, kind of like DNA. So it's digital. That's the form that RNA takes. And this makes RNA a perfect match for AI because, of course, AI is in a computer, which is digital. Kind of like with ChatGPT, where sequences of English letters are a perfect match for AI as well. Now, the third reason I mentioned is data. So there's more data in RNA biology than in any other field. Over hundreds of petabytes of RNA data, way more data than for protein or DNA or physiology. And AI needs data, as we all know, and there are huge amounts of RNA data. So this huge data and the new generation of AI is transformative. Of course, there is the additional ingredient, which is compute. And we all know about the huge amounts of compute that are being made available. And this exponential growth in compute power puts us at the perfect place for RNA biology and therapeutics. And so I think for these reasons, RNA holds massive potential for transforming not just the drugs on the market, but the way we even think about pharmaceutical R&D. RNA is the key therapeutic route to pave the way for transformative developments in the pharma industry. But I will say that to make this happen, we need AI that can untangle the complex relationships of RNA for identifying drug targets, accurately prioritizing therapeutic opportunities, all of that, which is important for drug discovery, and also to do this at scale across the entire genome. And I mentioned our foundation model before, big RNA, and that's what big RNA is all about.
Thank you, Brendan. I was just wondering if you could go further in to how AI can specifically help in this regard in untangling this perfectly digital appropriate RNA.
Sure. So I mentioned big RNA, and so let's talk a little bit about that, but I'll also answer your question in the broader sense. So we have in big RNA what we call a foundation model. And at Deep Genomics, we have a foundation model platform, which is really a suite of foundation models, all aimed at solving key drug discovery problems. But let's just come back to this one foundation model for a moment. So RNA, or big RNA, is our flagship foundation model, which we developed just over 1 year ago, and it's the first of its kind. So let's go through how big RNA works. So first of all, it's designed to decode RNA biology. It was trained on over 1 trillion genomic signals, which is a truly huge amount of data. 5 years ago, we used to talk about tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of data points, and now we're talking about trillions of data points used to train these models. Big RNA has over 1.8 billion tunable parameters. So any machine learning system, the way it works is it has what we call parameters, which you can think of as being little control knobs. And as you adjust those control knobs, the machine learning system will do things differently. And so what you want to do is look at your data and adjust those control knobs until your machine learning system is doing a good job. And with big RNA, it has over 1.8 billion of these control knobs that get tuned to make sure the big RNA is doing a good job. So this makes it a very large AI model. So big RNA is a significant step forward in the critical early stages of R&D for new therapies. So a bit more technically, what big RNA does is it can take any gene along with patient mutations or therapeutic molecules as input, and then predict what will happen within cells across diverse tissues and even across different species. And this capability of making prediction is core to what machine learning is all about. And in this case here, it enables us to look at different patient mutations, look at different therapeutics, and ask what would happen in cells if we introduce those mutations, if we introduce those therapeutics. So in a sense, you can imagine conducting any molecular biology experiment you want, but instantaneously and free of charge. Big RNA makes predictions for over 3,000 different molecular characteristics of biology, and it does so at a single base resolution. That is one prediction for every nucleotide in the gene. And so it's really this capability of taking the input, the DNA sequence for a gene, any patient mutation, any therapeutic molecule, and then making a wide range of predictions, 3,000 different kinds of predictions for what will happen in the cell once you introduce that mutation or that therapeutic. I'll mention we validated these predictions millions of times on 12 different drug discovery tasks, ranging from identifying how patient mutations cause disease all the way to designing novel oligonucleotide and DNA or RNA editing molecules. And to put big RNA in context, people are familiar, I'm sure, with ChatGPT. They might have heard of other foundation models. But a foundation model is a model that can solve a wide range of tasks, including many that it wasn't even originally designed to solve. And you mentioned this earlier when you alluded to emergent intelligence, and that's what we see with big RNA. I was trained using certain kinds of data sets, but we've been able to use it to solve problems that are outside of the scope of those data sets. So new problems that we hadn't even thought of it being able to solve when we designed it. So in that sense, big RNA, like ChatGPT, is able to think outside of the box, if you like, and innovate. Now, one last comment I'll make, just because I realize that sort of any conversation about deep learning needs to take into account kind of the context of what's going on in the field. We've all seen exponential growth in deep learning when it comes to companies like NVIDIA or Google. And to illustrate the significance of big RNA, we recently leveraged it in a trial with Google Trillium TPUs, a new introduction from Google, a new technology, where we piloted one of the largest explorations yet into rare and complex genetic conditions. And using Google's new TPU architecture and massive amounts of compute, we use big RNA to further our understanding of the genetic and biological determinants of complex and rare diseases, and create a database that will drive therapeutic innovation for us and also for our pharmaceutical partners. And coming back to the team, the ability of our machine learning engineers and scientists to adapt and integrate with complex architectures at this scale speaks to our agility. This pilot that we conducted is just the tip of the iceberg, and how the foundation models that we've developed can be supercharged with the industry's latest technology. We'll be doing a lot more of that this year. So I'd say we're facing a transformation of the industry. With the right ingredients, we and other companies can take us to the next level.
Thank you, Brendan, for the wide-ranging application of big RNA and this apt moment, as it were, for this technology, for such a foundation model. I want to broaden out slightly to the field as a whole, the landscape, the big picture. Why is it that we're at such a pivotal moment for such technology now? Thinking generally outside of deep genomics, but the space in which deep genomics specializes, what precisely is involved when it comes to ensuring the success of such approaches, these AI-driven approaches within the pharmaceutical industry?
Yeah, great question. As you said, as an industry, we're at an interesting turning point in the evolution of applying AI to drug development. an approach where AI is task-driven and narrow-focused on a single isolated problem. For example, an AI system for screening molecules. Instead, industry leaders are embracing a new paradigm, which I alluded to before, which is these AI foundation models. So these models trained on very large and broad data sets, billions or even trillions of data points like big RNA, are versatile, and they also are capable of tackling a wide range of complex challenges simultaneously. And we've discovered, we and others have discovered that this is crucial for success in early stage R&D in the pharmaceutical industry. So ensuring the success of AI-driven approaches in pharma going forward involves several factors. And to have a successful drug, it's not okay to just get one thing right. You've kind of got to get 10 or 15 or 20 things right. You have to have a good genetically defined target. You have to have a mechanism of action that can remediate the problem. You need a therapeutic molecule that will correct that problem. You also need the molecule to be safe and have good safety properties and not have off-target effects. It has to be manufacturable. All sorts of things have to be right in order for you to have a successful drug. And so the industry has really come around to realizing that aiming AI at only one of these problems and ignoring the others is really not the best way to go. We need to solve all those problems, which is a really good match to foundation models. So using AI to transform the future of medicine, I believe, certainly relies on this cutting edge technology, foundation models. I think the other aspect of this, though, is that companies need to develop a novel approach to teamwork, including practicing multilingualism. Along with that, a new partnership model as well. Now, by multilingualism, I mean the ability to facilitate effective dialogue between experimental biologists and AI researchers, also build trust so they can challenge and understand one another, all those kinds of things which are important for a good relationship. In drug discovery, most things don't work. And when things don't work, people get upset or they get confused. They're not sure what's going on. And often they'll kind of retreat to their silos. And it's really important that we don't do that. It's really important that when things go wrong, that people with different backgrounds get together and talk about it and try to understand one another's perspectives. And that's a big deal. It's not an easy thing to achieve, to be honest. In the past, both pharmaceutical companies attempting to leverage AI and AI companies attempting to apply their models to drug design have faced significant challenges. These setbacks are rooted in the failure to bridge the cultural and language barriers between these disparate communities or disciplines. And so this is not an easy thing to achieve, but the new generation of AI drug discovery companies are working hard on this concept of multilingualism to build good culture. And I'd also say that adopting AI foundation models in particular requires a fundamental mindset shift that fosters this seamless collaboration across domains. And that's because what's critical for foundation models is scalability. You need to be able to throw more and more data at these foundation models. You need to be able to scale up the models themselves, give them more parameters, more of these knobs that can be tuned to make the machine learning system do a good job. And that involves really a seamless and close collaboration between computational people and experimental people who are generating the data sets that are used to train these models. So this new generation of, I guess you could say, amphibious scientists, both wet lab and dry lab, that are able to operate fluidly in both the wet labs where tissue samples are tested and the dry labs where AI researchers work, is pivotal for building a successful company in this area.
Thank you, Brendan. So all those things in place, and as a side note, I do like this expression, amphibious scientists, but that aside, all these things in place, thinking about the future, thinking about the potential scalability of these foundation models, which are incredible with the amount of data that they are processing, and you've got the multilingualism in place, etc. What of the future? What next for foundation models, and what would the time frame be for that next stage for such incredible technology as stands today?
Yeah, so what does the future look like? Well, first, the Deep Genomics, our focus today is on harnessing AI to accelerate discoveries in drug discovery and development. By applying machine learning models to these vast data sets of genetic, molecular, and cellular data, only these kinds of AI models can process. We're reshaping how we approach complex challenges in early stage pharmaceutical R&D. Now, in terms of the technology itself, the key components of genomics or genome biology are DNA, RNA, proteins, and also the cells, of course, within which we measure those molecular biology components. And I would say broadening foundation models to encapsulate all of that is what we're going to see happen in the next 5 years or so. And so not just individual foundation models for, say, RNA, like we have at Deep Genomics with big RNA, but foundation models that understand the relationships between DNA, RNA, and protein, all of those combined, and can do so in a way that's very cell-specific. And so a new technology in molecular biology is a single cell sequencing, which allows us to measure RNA within a single cell. But really, that's a new technology, and researchers have not fully figured it out. There are some foundation models like single cell GPT, SCGPT, for single cell data. But at this point, these different foundation models are segregated. They kind of work on their own specific problem. They're not integrated together. So I think technically that's going to be a big change that we see coming in the next few years, is single foundation models of these broad swaths of molecular biology. And then the other thing I would say is the industry, and you referred to it before, TechBio, the TechBio industry. So what is TechBio? So a big change for us in the past year came from asking ourselves whether we should focus on taking 1 or 2 programs into the clinic, or maximize the impact of our foundation model platform on a wide range of patient opportunities. And a lot of companies have faced this, especially in the last 2-3 years when the cost of capital has grown, and investors and boards of directors have sort of channeled companies towards focusing on advancing 1 or 2 programs to the clinic and decreasing their focus on their platform, on the engine behind those programs. At Deep Genomics, we made the difficult decision with our team and with our board of directors to actually focus on the platform, double down on the AI, because that's what we're especially good at, and that's where we believe the future of drug discovery lies. And so what that means is a couple of things. First of all, from the point of view of what our goals are within the company, of course, the goals are centered on expanding the platform and being able to address as many of these different challenges in drug discovery as possible, and to provide that to our partners, to enable our partners with that kind of capability, but then also to advance molecules as well. We are a TechBio, but we are advancing molecules. So because of this change in focus, we view ourselves as being at the forefront of this new TechBio category. And TechBio just means AI first. So the core of the company is AI, and we're looking to do as much as possible in terms of helping patients with that AI, rather than just advance 1 or 2 programs to the clinic, which is the traditional biotech type of approach. So on the change to our partnership model, so the change in the business model means, of course, spearheading a new partnership model. So in addition to offering to advance lead candidates within well-scoped areas, we are also offering to create an application-specific AI environment that can give our pharmaceutical partners a competitive edge. Because our foundation model platform is engineered to be accurate, reliable, and reproducible across a wide range of early-stage R&D capabilities, it provides an ideal substrate for specific partner AI capabilities that can be built on top. And people often talk about having an interesting result or a flagship paper, or there's a new startup with some kind of AI technology, and that's a good first step. But that does not mean that they have a system that's accurate, reliable, and reproducible, that's well engineered, so that it's scalable and valuable to partners. And that's what we have at Deep Genomics. So in this case, our partner doesn't just get a molecule or a tool, they get a dedicated, highly specialized team, this multidisciplinary team, and an environment that includes access to the Deep Genomics Foundation Model platform, database infrastructure, the GPU computing infrastructure, analysis pipelines, and also the bioinformatics and computational tools that we've created. And so the idea here is that this amplifies the discovery and development of new medicines, expands the portfolio, increases productivity and predictability, lowers risk, and also reduces time to market. As a TechBio, I think that we firmly believe that the future pharmaceuticals will increasingly rely on more collaborations like this that unite computing advancements with biology, and effectively deploying AI in drug discovery and development and biotechnology is too complex for traditional in-house teams or AI-only vendors to tackle effectively. And so this comes back to the multidisciplinary team that I mentioned earlier. So pharmaceutical companies, in my view, need a partner like Deep Genomics, one that understands both sides of the coin. And we believe that the future of medicine depends on this level of integration. And how long this takes depends on the initiation, strength, and perseverance of such partnerships. And so I guess we'll see.
We'll see indeed. Thank you, Brendan. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Nicole.
And that concludes another episode of the pharmaphorum podcast. You can find more information about this episode, including a download link and information about previous installments at pharmaphorum.com/podcasts. The pharmaphorum podcast is also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Podbean, and pretty much wherever else you download your other podcasts from. Just search for pharmaphorum and follow and hit subscribe. Of course, don't forget to visit our website itself, where you can sign up for daily and weekly news and analysis bulletins. And do follow us on Blue Sky and LinkedIn at pharmaphorum. That's all for now. Thank you for listening.